Someone in that car murdered someone yesterday.
What did they murder?
Do you understand how serious this is now? Do you understand the consequences for lying to the police and a homicide investigation is a third-degree felony? Did you girls shoot at him?
No. Not the boys, shoot at nobody.
I understand, but it's like y'all want me to admit to something that I don't know. I told y'all what I know. I told y'all what I was doing over there. I should never been over there. I already told y'all. It's like y'all want me to just say I was shooting, which I was not shooting. I never pulled a trigger in a day of my life.
Point to where he was shooting at.
He started right here. He started shooting right here over this way.
The passenger, it's like he goes like that and he was shooting like that.
If I shot my hand this way or through the passenger, I got something that's going to identify, and I cannot deny these tattoos.
When did you get those?
I have got this, like...
You didn't have them before. What you just did, up over the roof of the car like that, shooting.
Mm-hmm.
You did not have that tattoo.
You think we the one who did it?
100%. 100%.
Eloy Lebron, a 41-year-old man, moved to Orange County in Orlando, Florida in 2018. He had suffered a devastating injury and came home to spend time with his family. In July 2020, Eloy and his friend were in his truck, driving on West Anderson Street in Jernigan Avenue around 12:30 p.m. on their way to get some supplies for the house when they noticed a car slow down beside them. As they were trying to determine why the car was slowing down beside them in the middle of the road, someone fired into their car. Eloy's friend in the passenger seat was able to duck under the seat to avoid being hit, but by the time Eloy realized what was happening, it was too late. He had been hit. The car from where the shots came from sped off immediately, almost crashing into a truck in an attempt to escape. The sudden and tragic death of Eloy Lebron triggered an investigation that unearthed chilling details that shook the town of Orlando to its very foundations. This is the case of the teen girls who got caught murdering during an interrogation.
What we can't get past is how those shots came from your car. If you're in the front passenger seat where you said you were, and Jaria is driving, which you and her both said she was, if the two of you don't fire those guns, who did?
What seemed to be a regular Thursday evening on July 23, 2020, for the Lebron family was about to take a very chilling turn. Officers were at their door. They told them that they found their son, Eloy Lebron, unresponsive in his car earlier that day. Shockwaves racked the body of his mom. His brother stood there rooted to the spot, too shocked to speak or move. They had just seen him a couple of hours ago. How could he be gone? The officers assured them they would do everything they could to bring Eloy's killers to justice. The investigation into this senseless tragedy began with Eloy's friend who was in the passenger seat. He told officers he and Eloy had been on West Anderson Street when Eloy was fired at, but he hadn't seen the person who fired because he ducked down to avoid being hit. It had happened so suddenly. One minute they were driving and making jokes. The next minute, bullets started raining down on them, and when the ordeal was over, Eloy was dead behind the wheel. He told officers that though he hadn't seen the person who fired the shot, he had seen the car the shooter was in. It was a white 2004 Saturn Ion. Officers now had a major clue in their investigation, and they went on to interview more people that had been on the road that day, and they had all seen the same car. Some witnesses gave descriptions of the people in the car. They said they saw two young girls. One was driving and the other in the passenger seat. While other witnesses say they saw a boy and a girl in the car, but only the boy fired the gun. In one particular interview, one witness gave specific descriptions of the incident, as well as the people in the car, saying they were both men, and both of them fired their guns.
This car caught her right, and then you said it
Cut him off. He cut him off.
cut the truck off.
Right, and was shooting. And he was steady shooting. But he was steady, when he's turning, he's shooting. And he kept going, shooting. And stuff.
The detective then asked the witness how the men fired their weapons.
Point to where he was shooting at.
He started right here. He started shooting right here over this way.
The passenger, it's like he goes like that and he was shooting like that.
Would you say his head's above the hood?
A little.
The witness is clear in his descriptions of how the incident occurred, but he also mentioned that the windows were only rolled down halfway and that they were tinted.
Windows were down?
Window was like right here.
Right here.
Right there. Like
Halfway?
Right there. Right, halfway, so he can see.
How dark was the tent, would you think? If there, or was there even any tent?
At this point, officers had two different descriptions of the people in the car at the time of the crime, so they needed to investigate further to find out more. Luckily for the officers, there was a security camera on the nearby street that captured some of the incident. The security camera footage showed a white Saturn Ion driving down the road in the opposite direction of a Toyota Tacoma, when all of a sudden the Saturn made a U-turn and started following the Toyota Tacoma. Officers noted the Saturn's U-turn was very aggressive, almost as if the driver saw someone familiar behind the wheel of the Toyota and turned around immediately. Officers also noted that the Saturn increased speed and even changed lanes to catch up with the Toyota, and once the Saturn was close, it slowed down besides the vehicle and shots were fired. The footage luckily captures the car license plate number and a vague image of the person behind the wheel, but because the witnesses had told them the person driving was male, the police decided to work with that narrative for the moment. The next day, officers pulled over a 2004 white Saturn Ion matching the description from the surveillance footage. In the car were 3 women. They were identified as Markia Hamilton, her mother, and a family member. All 3 women were taken into the police station for questioning. Markia Hamilton was a 19-year-old girl who worked at Sonny's Barbecue restaurant in Orlando and dreamt of joining the U.S. military. Markia was interviewed by Detective Sprague and one other detective. She told the detectives that she and her cousin Jeria were on their way to buy drugs on the day of the incident when they heard gunshots on West Anderson Street. Markia then claimed that they raced out of there to avoid being hit. The detectives confirmed from Markia and Jerea's phone that they were indeed in the location at the time of the incident.
We know from your phone exactly where you were. That's why we kept your phone. But your testimony just backed up what your phone already told us. Okay, what you told us, we checked your phone backed you up. You were there. You were there when the shots rang out. We know that. In fact, you and Jeria had such specific information, very, very detailed information about what happened. You couldn't have been anywhere else.
Markia insisted that she and her cousin, Jeria, were just passing by and had not been involved in the shooting.
I understand, but it's like y'all want me to admit to something that I don't know. I told y'all what I know. I told y'all what I was doing over there. I should never been over there. I already told y'all. It's like y'all want me to just say I was shooting, which I was not shooting. I never pulled a trigger in a day of my life.
But investigators would learn that this was far from the truth.
What we can't get past is how those shots came from your car. If you're in the front passenger seat where you said you were, and Jeria is driving, which you and her both said she was, if the two of you don't fire those guns, who did?
The detective asks Markia to go over the events of July 23, 2020. Markia begins with the first thing she did that day. She said she woke up around noon at her boyfriend's house. Then she got picked up by her cousin Jeria, who was actually driving the Saturn at the time. Markia explained to the detectives that even though the Saturn belonged to her mom, Jeria would drive it most of the time. She said her own boyfriend had a car and could drive her anywhere she wanted to go, so the Saturn was usually with Jeria. Markia said she was supposed to start her work shift by 4 p.m., but it was just noon, so she had some time to kill. She and her cousin decided to buy narcotics before their shifts started, and that's how their journey to Jernigan Avenue began. Markia claimed that when they got to West Anderson, she noticed a man running down the sidewalk super fast. She thought it was weird and called her cousin's attention to it. She went ahead to say it was at that moment that they heard gunfire. Markia said they drove out of there so fast they almost hit a white truck driving down a one-way street. She claimed they drove straight to her house not far from where they were. Now, this information she shared with them lined up perfectly with what the surveillance footage shows, except for one thing. Markia never mentioned where the shots came from. She relayed everything else with surprising detail, but when it got to where the shots came from, she was a little fuzzy. The detectives were instantly suspicious. Other witnesses on the road that day had provided specific information about where the bullets came from. It was the one thing they all said in common, all except for Markia. Now at this point, the detectives were still sure the shots did not come from Markia and Jeria themselves. And witness testimonies also back that up, saying they saw 2 men. So they try to get Markia to give up the people she's trying to protect.
Because we know Brandon wasn't there. But Scotty was.
Scott was not with us.
So when did he get out of the car?
When she picked me up, it was nobody, it was me and her. So I don't know before then, but when it was me and her.
The detectives were trying to figure out if someone else was in the car with the girls, but Markia continued to insist it was just her and Jeria in the car. So the detective tried to trip her up on the details.
So you did not get in the back seat?
No. When she picked me up, no.
From McDonald's?
I was never in the car with McDonald's.
I know, because they picked you up after they went to McDonald's.
Yes.
Okay. Who was in the car at McDonald's?
What I was told was all of them, but I was never in there with them at McDonald's, so I don't know who was, from my side, I don't know who was in the car with McDonald's.
Okay.
I wasn't there, I wasn't with them, I was still home.
The detective then asks Markia who she was told was in the car before they picked her up.
So you just said, from what I was told, all of them. Who's all of them?
Who she was with, Pimpin', her and Pimpin', that's what she told me. Her, Pimpin', and Reggie was in the car.
Her Pimpin' and Reggie. Okay. So Pimpin' meaning Scotty Burnett.
Yeah.
Okay.
As firm as Markia was on some details, the detectives noticed she was very fuzzy on others. For instance, her alibi for July 23rd changed several times over the course of the 1-hour interrogation. First, she said she was picked up by Jerea's sister, not Jerea, because Jerea was busy at the hospital, finding out she was pregnant. Then later, she said she was picked up by Jerea. Where she went after the incident also changed multiple times. At some point, she said she went straight home, and then she changed it and said she went to her boyfriend's house. Her account of the day was shaky at best, and the detectives were finding it hard to believe her, but they were still working with the information that men had fired the shots. So the detectives tried to find out if Markia and Jerea had gotten involved in any beef Scotty and Reggie had. The point was to determine if they tried to take revenge on behalf of these men, but Markia wasn't forthcoming.
Why would I jeopardize everything I got for
I hope you...
some boys that who knows I'll be with 10 years from now?
Correct.
I'm in love with my boyfriend. Like you said, mine was at work. But like I said, why would I jeopardize? I'm young. Yeah, I'm in love with him. I say that, but I'm 18 years old. Why would I jeopardize that?
The detective then told Markia she needed to level with them about the other people in that car because they had witnesses that say shots were fired from her car.
I looked at both of you dead in your eye and I said, I know you didn't. But the information that we have, the shots came from your car.
Markia immediately asked the detectives if they had evidence that the gunfire had come from her car. Now this could be because Markia is trying to figure out what they have on her and Jerea.
Do you have evidence?
Yes.
What evidence?
Okay. And this is what's gonna screw you over in the long run. Okay? And this is what I'm trying to avoid happening to you. The evidence is super strong against the occupants of that vehicle.
Markia appeared calm and collected as she believed investigators had nothing on her, but something was about to shake her calm demeanor into a scared and aggravated one. With Markia's continual denial, the detectives had no choice but to re-examine what they knew about the case. They knew shots were fired from the Saturn. They knew from witnesses that 2 people fired the shots, one in the driver's seat and the other one in the passenger seat. It could have only been the 2 people occupying those seats that fired the shots. Markia and Jerea both insisted they were the only ones in the car, so the detectives began to think that maybe there was no other person in the car. Maybe the shooter was sitting right in front of them.
Because, you're telling me you girls were the only ones in the car.
Yeah, we was.
So maybe I'm misreading you.
I think I'll pull the trigger.
Maybe I'm misreading you.
For another
maybe both you girls are much more than I ever imagined.
At this point, Markia is shaken. She goes from previously sitting calmly in the chair to rocking back and forth and stuttering. She knows the detective is on to something, and the jig might be up.
You think we the one who did it?
100%. 100%.
Markia is desperate to change the detective's mind, so she tells her something she thought would exonerate her, but she unknowingly gave the detective the last piece of the puzzle.
Let me tell you something. My thing is, I wouldn't put my hand out to shoot nothing. This gonna identify me off rip. I got a tattoo that's gonna identify.
Markia claimed that if she were to put her hand out of the window to fire a gun, her sleeve tattoo would give her away. But Markia had just made a big mistake, one that was about to cost her her freedom.
Either way it goes, if I shot my hand this way or through the patch, I got something that's gonna identify, and I cannot deny these tattoos.
The detective immediately realizes her tattoos that she claims would identify her are very fresh, and when she asks Markia about them, she starts to stutter.
When did you get those?
I had got this a few weeks ago, I think. But, you know what I'm saying?
You didn't have them before.
No, but this right here would identify.
But you didn't have them before.
I had this one before, yes.
Not when you stuck that one out the window
I didn't
over the
have
hood of the car. You did not have that.
I did not have this one, no.
Correct. So it wouldn't
My
identify
car.
you.
Markia's attempt at using her tattoos to prove she didn't do it failed miserably. They knew immediately she did not have the tattoo on her right hand on the day of the incident. Not only had Markia failed to prove her innocence, she had also just tried to lie to the detective and further prove what the detective had suspected. Markia was not just an innocent bystander in the incident.
You just got it. I can tell the ink is fresh.
It's burning? Yes, I just got it.
Yeah. Okay. I have tattoos too, so I'm familiar. Okay. All right. So, at the moment that you shot out the vehicle over the roof of the car, there was not a tattoo on your forearm.
But Markia denied doing the firing, so the detective proceeds to point out the mistake that gave her up.
All right. Now, this arm wouldn't have done the shooting because obviously you'd have had to shoot over her face in front of your cousin, and that would have been dangerous.
Once the detective figured out they did it, she tries to give Markia an out by giving her another person to blame.
Because when I listened to your mom told us a lot about Jaria. She wasn't as convinced that you would do something like that unless you were with Jaria. But she was dead set convinced Jaria would. Jaria straight up cold. She sat in this chair where you're sitting right now and said, Jaria, yes. But I don't think my daughter would do it. Maybe she's just trying to protect you. But I don't think my daughter would do that. Unless she was with her cousin.
But Markia doesn't take the bait, so the detective tries to give her a reason for the shooting.
Unless there's mitigating circumstances, and that's why I mentioned the assault. Unless there's some sort of situation where this boy, unless there's a legitimate concern, a reason.
But Markia doesn't jump at the reason the detective is handing. In fact, she continued to rock back and forth in her chair. The detective has been trying to figure out what happened for months, without success. There was always something she was missing, but in that moment, everything made sense.
It's crazy that you think like that.
I didn't before about 5 minutes ago. I didn't until you did the thing with the tattoo in the arm.
Yeah, like I said.
Yeah, now I do.
What the detective is referring to here is this.
Either way it goes, if I shot my hand this way or through the passenger, I got something that's going to identify, and I cannot deny these tattoos.
Which lined up perfectly with how one witness described the shooting.
The passenger, it's like he goes like that and he was shooting like that.
Would you say his head's above the hood?
A little.
With Markia's accidental slip, the detectives now have the missing part of the puzzle that had been eluding them, so they move on to Drea.
Where's the detective?
Out there dealing with someone else right now?
Can I talk to him? Because y'all put me over. Y'all didn't pour her over.
They've only spoke to one person, which is the older female. I don't know who that is to you.
That's my mother. I got pulled over. I should be the first one y'all talk to. I the one got pulled over.
Okay. Give me a
So
second.
y'all should talk to me. Y'all doing everything but doing y'all job.
Okay. Give me a sec.
Drea Shield was also 19 years old and worked at Sonny's barbecue restaurant. She had a boyfriend named Scotty, whom she was pregnant for. Before Drea lived in Orlando, Florida, she lived in the UK. Drea moved back to the US when she was a bit younger but could not complete high school in the US because she wasn't able to transfer her credits. Although Drea was driving on the day of the incident, the detectives found out that she did not have a driver's license, only a learner's permit. Drea gave the detectives a very similar narration of what happened on the 23rd as Markia, but there was a small difference, a difference that further proved to the detective that Markia and Drea were guilty. She said the man they saw running on the sidewalk on the day was in fact running from them, and he also fired back at them. But when the detectives called her out on her statement, Drea denied ever saying it.
Did you girls shoot at him?
No, I ain't that. No, got the ball to shoot at nobody.
Drea then asks the detective something rather curious.
Can't y'all do fingerprints or something?
Fingerprints for what?
She just asked me, do I shoot something?
What's curious about that is, if the detectives had said they couldn't, Drea would have known that they didn't have the weapon. But if he had said yes, she would have known they did and would be able to decide whether or not to confess. But the detectives caught on to what she was doing and didn't respond to the question. It's even more suspicious because Markia did the same thing when she was questioned. She tried at different times to figure out exactly what the detectives had on them.
Did you guys have a gun?
I don't know. 99% of the time when we convict people of murder, we don't have them.
Was
Most
there
of the
gun
time we
residue
don't.
found on top of my car?
I don't want to answer.
Although the detective didn't get a confession from both of the girls, they already connected them to the crime. And even though they couldn't get a motive, eventually, they landed on the possibility that Eloy Lebron was not the intended target. He just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. By September 2020, a 10-page warrant for Marquia's arrest was released, and Marquia was arrested on a charge of manslaughter with a firearm. She was released on bond and is currently awaiting trial. Jernigan wasn't arrested until January 2021, and was also released on bail. In April 2023, Jernigan had a status hearing and is currently awaiting the verdict. Hey, thanks for watching. But what are your thoughts on this case? Do you know of other similar cases? Let me know in the comments, and before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you next time, and stay safe.